Hello everyone, it's Brian here doing my first interview for Earth Unfiltered, and I'm with my professor, Joshua Feltham. Thank you for doing this first interview, Josh.
My pleasure,
How's
Brian.
it going?
It's going great.
Good. Good, so I want to start off, and could you just describe to everyone what your research is all about?
My research is essentially focused at looking at species at risk, so species that we've identified as being in decline in terms of their numbers. And I study where they occur, what they're doing there, and how many of them there are, and then figuring out ways that we can monitor those populations and ensure that they stay around.
Sounds good. And that's just in Ontario?
That's in Ontario, but I also work in Costa Rica with endangered marine turtles. So we look at nesting turtles there and try to reduce poaching rates and help a small village earn an income through conservation. And then wherever I am, whenever I can, I'm always looking for snakes and lizards and turtles and things, so just collecting a little bit of data here and there.
Now, was it always reptiles?
Yeah.
Ever since the get-go?
Ever since I was a kid. I mean, I guess being born in Iceland, I didn't have exposure to a lot of reptiles, so it wasn't until we got to Canada and I was introduced to my first garter snake at about the age of 8, and there was no looking back after that. It was just snakes, 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 and then gradually expanded to other forms of reptiles and amphibians.
What's the reptiles you're studying here in Ontario?
In Ontario, my main focus right now is a type of lizard called the five-lined skink, not stink and not skank. It's our only lizard species that we find in Ontario.
I didn't even know five-line skinks even existed until I met you. Yeah. So where did it become like the five-line skink? Like when did that become such an important animal to study?
Well, I think in terms of our approach to ecosystems in Ontario, and that they're trying to preserve what's called ecological integrity. So all the various species that occur out there. The five-lined skink is a small little animal, but the abundance of this animal is quite high in certain areas. So actually one of the most important roles it plays out there in the ecosystem is to be eaten by other things and to provide food, but they also eat a lot of insects. So these small insectivorous animals are food, and they eat a lot of insects that also can become pests if they're not managed. So that's why it's important as far as the lizard itself and its significance. The populations that I'm studying are the farthest north for this species anywhere, and when species are at the edge of where they can live, some interesting things can happen in terms of their evolution and adaptation, and so we're seeing what's unique about these populations.
Very cool. And where are they found most, the five-lined skinks? In case someone wants to go out now.
Right now?
And go looking for them, like after they hear about this.
Yeah.
Like I see hordes running into the forest.
Yes. If you want to go further south, if you're going to be in Florida or Georgia or South Carolina over the holidays, those areas you can find these lizards. They occur all the way from the southern United States up into Ontario.
Very cool. Where did it become a viable career option for you to like do research and take it really seriously?
Well, if you ask people when I was growing up, they would have all said it wasn't a viable career option. But I think, I guess if you just follow what you're really interested in, then learning about it becomes easy. Becoming an expert in the field becomes easy because you enjoy it. And connecting with the right people, that was a key aspect in my career, was going and sitting down and speaking with someone who was studying herpetology, which is the study of amphibians and reptiles, and saying, all right, I'm interested in doing what you do. And he said, well, there's about 6 people in all of Canada, so fat chance. But now that person is one of my best friends and colleagues, and I still rely on him as a guide and support. So follow what you want to do and do it well and get to meet people. So that's really when it became viable, was connecting with the right people.
And how important is, because I feel like a lot of times when someone studies animals, a kind of stereotype that you have is that they're very like anti-social, anti-people, right? How important are people in biological research, or in your research in particular?
Well, when I was young, I couldn't speak to a stranger if my life depended on it. I was a very, very shy kid. I'm not sure what happened, but I'm not so anymore. if you're going to work with animals, you need to work with people. That's the bottom line. there's no way we're going to have any success and any effort whatsoever without being able to get people on board. And so if you don't like people and you think that people are causing all the problems, then you need to address people and try to find the solutions.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. Is there any, if you could give one piece of advice to, let's say, someone coming out of high school or someone who would like to get involved in biological research, what sort of piece of advice would you give them?
Main piece of advice, get out there and talk to someone who's doing what you want to do. And get out there and volunteer. And so talk to people, get experience, and get to know people. Because you might think that's what you want to do, but it may not be. And, you know, people, for example, love animals, but if you're going to work with animals, you got to be prepared for animals that are no longer living, or maybe being there when they're dead, or maybe having to be the person who actually has to put that animal down because it's suffering. If you can't do that, then maybe work with animals isn't where you need to go. So consider the worst case scenario, make sure you're able to do that, get out there and get experience and see what it's like, and meet people, just do it, and find out what happens.
Yeah, no, totally. So that, I have one final question, because as you know, now I'm a big-time interviewer, and I do my research before
It's pretty softball so far.
Oh, don't worry, this is where it gets, because for my final question, I'm like, I've got to do my research on you. How does it feel being rated a hot, red hot chili professor on ratemyprofessor.com?
I have no idea. I didn't know that that occurred.
It's there.
Really?
It's a red. It says red hot. You get good reviews overall.
Oh, good. So
But
there's like
red,
one review on there, I'm sure.
No, there's a few,
Oh, really?
and they all red hot chili.
So
Would you like to say anything to them? Because they're, you know, them.
Thanks, folks. I'll have to go and check that out, I guess. What's this called?
RateMyProfessor.com.
RateMyProfessor.com. All right.
Just
well,
clearly they're appreciating the work that you do.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. Whether it's hot or not, you know, I guess if that's what gets them
Oh,
in the
they
door.
deemed it.
Okay.
It's right there.
All right.
But thank you so much for coming and answering all of our questions. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. My pleasure.